Right, you lot. Gather around and try to stay awake because today we're talking about cars that are more reliable than a Swiss watch, more dependable than a Labrador, and tougher than a badger in a bagpipe factory. Welcome to our countdown of the top 10 cars known for their incredible longevity over the past 50 years. These aren't your flashy supercars that spend more time in the shop than on the road. No, these are the workhorses, the marathon runners, the vehicles that just refuse to die. We're talking about the cars your granddad bought new and is still threatening to take you to Tesco in. These vehicles have stood the test of time, proving to be reliable and durable for decades. So buckle up and let's get to it. We're kicking off this list with a proper legend, the Toyota Land Cruiser. Now you might be thinking, isn't it a bit obvious to start with a Land Cruiser? And you know what? You'd be right. But there's a reason it's obvious. This thing is the automotive equivalent of a mountain goat. It never seems to break a sweat, no matter how rough the terrain. From the African savanna to the Australian outback, the Land Cruiser just keeps on going. You could drop this thing from space, and it would probably just bounce back and ask for more. These things are built like tanks, but unlike tanks, they're actually comfortable to drive. And don't think for a minute that we're just talking about the shiny new ones. No, we're talking about Land Cruisers from the 80s and 90s, the ones with more miles on them than a space shuttle. They just keep chugging along, racking up insane mileage like it's nothing. You see a Land Cruiser with a dented bumper and faded paint, you know it's got stories to tell. Stories of epic adventures, daring escapes, and probably a few trips to the garden center. The Land Cruiser is a testament to Toyota's legendary reliability, a true icon of longevity in the automotive world. So if you're looking for a car that will outlive you and your children, look no further. Just try not to get it stuck in the mud though. Even Chuck Norris needs a hand sometimes. Next up, we have a car that's about as exciting as a beige sofa, but twice as reliable. Yes, it's the Honda Accord, the automotive equivalent of a pair of comfortable slippers. Now, I know what you're thinking. A Honda Accord? Really, Clarkson? Where's the thrill? Where's the drama? And you know what? You'd be right again. The Accord isn't going to set your soul on fire, but it will get you from A to B without complaint year after year after year. These things are like the Duracell bunnies of the car world. They just keep going and going and going. You'll find Accords with hundreds of thousands of miles on the clock, still running like a Swiss watch. They're the kind of cars that mechanics hate because they never break down. But don't let the Accord's sensible shoes fool you. Underneath that unassuming exterior lies a heart of pure engineering brilliance. Honda knows how to build a car that lasts, and the Accord is a testament to that. It's the quiet achiever, the dependable friend, the car you can always count on. So if you're looking for a car that will never let you down, that will start on a cold morning and get you home on a rainy night without a whimper of complaint, then the Honda Accord is the car for you. It might not be the most exciting car on the planet, but it's definitely one of the most dependable. Now let's talk about the Volvo 240, a car so indestructible that they used to use them to test nuclear bombs. Okay, maybe not, but it wouldn't surprise me. This thing is built like a tank, a Swedish tank, but a tank nonetheless. You see a 240 on the road, you know it's seen some things. It's probably survived more fender benders than a bumper car at a carnival. They're like the cockroaches of the car world. They'll probably outlive us all. Now I know what you're thinking. But Clarkson, the 240 is about as exciting as watching paint dry. And you know what? You'd be right again. It's not a car that's going to set your pulse racing. But that's not the point, is it? The 240 is all about substance over style. It's the strong, silent type. It's the kind of car that your dad probably tried to make you learn to drive in. And you know what? He was right. Learning to drive in a 240 is like earning your driving stripes. It teaches you that a car doesn't need to be flashy to be brilliant. Chapter 4, Subaru Outback, the all-weather warrior. Next up is a car that laughs in the face of snow, ice, and anything else Mother Nature can throw at it. It's the Subaru Outback, the all-wheel drive hero of the suburbs. Now you might be thinking, the Outback? Isn't that just a glorified station wagon? And you know what? You'd be partially right. It is a station wagon, but it's a station wagon with a secret weapon legendary Subaru all-wheel drive. These things are like mountain goats in car form. They'll climb a muddy hill without breaking a sweat. They'll power through snowdrifts that would leave other cars stranded. And they'll do it all while carrying your flat-pack furniture and your dog. The Outback is the go-to vehicle for people who laugh in the face of winter. They're not afraid of a little bit of snow, or a lot of snow for that matter. They're the kind of people who would probably drive to the North Pole for a picnic if they could. Chapter 5, Mercedes-Benz W123, the German over-engineer. Now we're talking about a car that's as solid as a German bank vault and about as exciting to look at. It's the Mercedes-Benz W123, a car built to a standard, not a price point. These things were engineered when Mercedes-Benz was still obsessed with building cars that would outlive their owners. You'll find W123s still roaming the streets today, their diesel engines ticking over like a grandfather clock, their bodies as solid as the day they were built. Now I know what you're thinking. The W123? Isn't that the car my granddad used to drive? And you know what? You'd be right. Again. But that's not a bad thing, is it? Your granddad had good taste. He knew a good thing when he saw it. He knew that the W123 was built to last. Chapter 6, Ford F-150, the American workhorse. Right, let's talk trucks, and when it comes to trucks in America, there's one that stands head and shoulders above the rest. The Ford F-150. This thing is as American as apple pie and just as beloved. The F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in America for a reason. Actually, make that several reasons. It's tough, it's capable, and it can haul just about anything you can throw at it. You see an F-150, you know it's seen some action. It's probably hauled more lumber than a logging camp, towed more trailers than a truck stop, and carried more kids to soccer practice than a school bus. Now let's talk about the Toyota Corolla. A car so ubiquitous that you probably haven't even noticed the last dozen that have driven past you. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? The Corolla doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand attention, it just quietly gets on with the job. And what a job it does. The Corolla is the automotive equivalent of a reliable pair of socks. It might not be flashy or exciting, but it's always there for you, ready to tackle whatever the day throws at it. These things are like the Energizer Bunny of cars. They just keep going and going and going. Chapter 8, Honda Civic, the little car that could, and still does. Next up is another Honda, and this one's a proper little fighter. It's the Honda Civic, a car that's been around for decades and shows no signs of slowing down. The Civic is proof that you don't need to be big to be tough. This little hatchback has been a firm favorite for decades, and for good reason. It's reliable, it's affordable, and it's surprisingly spacious. You see a Civic on the road, you know it's probably owned by someone who values practicality over pretense. Chapter 9. Lexus LS400. Luxury that lasts longer than your last relationship. Now let's talk about a car that proves that luxury and longevity aren't mutually exclusive. It's the Lexus LS400, the car that made the Germans nervous and redefined what a luxury car could be. When the LS400 burst onto the scene in the late 80s, it sent shockwaves through the automotive world. Here was a Japanese luxury car that was not only more reliable than its German rivals, but it was also quieter, more comfortable, and more technologically advanced. Chapter 10, Chevrolet Suburban, the big friendly giant. And finally, we come to the last car on our list, and it's a big one. Literally, it's the Chevrolet Suburban, a vehicle so large it could probably have its own zip code. The Suburban is an American institution. It's been hauling families, towing boats, and generally dominating the road for decades. It's the go-to vehicle for people who need space, comfort, and the reassurance that they'll never have to leave anything behind. Outroad, that's all folks. So there you have it folks, our top 10 cars that are tougher than a week-old baguette and more reliable than a Swiss timepiece. These are the vehicles that have earned their stripes on the roads, proving that longevity isn't just a word, it's a way of life. Thanks for watching our countdown of the top 10 cars known for their longevity. We've covered everything from rugged off-roaders to sensible sedans and everything in between. Remember, these are just a few of the many cars out there that are built to last. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And be sure to let us know in the comments below which car you think should have made the list. Until next time, drive safe and keep those engines running.